Hi, and welcome to this week's Caught My Eye. First up in the news, zombies.
Zombies.
Zombies. You know how you're awake at night? You aren't. I am. I'm awake all night. But you're just scrolling through stuff, and something for some reason just catches your eyes. I saw this first alert zombie attack. Do not leave the building.
Oh my.
And it's this guy, Mr. Apocalypse, who does zombie stories. And it was about half hour long, and most of his videos are. But it was good. I was surprised it was good.
Just an entertaining thing on something you wouldn't think about.
No, it read like a story, you know. It had an opening, it had a climax, and the denouement and all that. But yeah, that was kind of fun. Then I got to thinking about other zombie movies, and I think, Night of the Living Dead was the first one, right?
Yeah, uncopyrighted.
No copyright on that. Yeah, so feel free to click.
To get you, Barbara.
Yes. My favorite one is Resident Evil.
Oh yeah, the games were great.
Yeah.
Yeah, PlayStation. Yeah. Oh,
well, yeah. I'd say it's one of my favorite ones because another one coming up is my favorite one.
Was it Regina that was the lead woman in that?
That was Mila Jovanovic.
No, well, I mean the character name.
Oh, I think it was something like that.
I've played it for 20 years. Yeah. Something else should play. Anyway, right.
Anyway, I love Mila Jovanovic.
Oh, yes.
And Fifth Element. Excellent movie. And then in Silent Hill, would we consider the nurses zombies?
Oh, gosh, yeah. I played it on the PlayStation 1. Again, 20 years ago plus. Yeah, I think they did, didn't they? When it went to nighttime and they all came out.
Have you ever heard any lore of Silent Hill? There was something about they were created by Pyramid Head or something like that, or the same creator of Pyramid Head.
I didn't get all the way through the game, but the atmospherics of it were fantastic. As to the lore itself, the whole thing changed at night-time, didn't it?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That one scene where the two women are in the elevator and Pyramid Head's there with that big, that was so scary.
And really, I mean, that helps to keep the zombie legend or something alive, doesn't it?
Yeah. And then you think, can it really happen?
Yeah.
Well, there's this movie called The Serpent and the Rainbow, and this is another one of my favorite ones.
That's a book that you ordered.
And I ordered it, and it's at the post office. I should have went and got it today, but I do have a picture of the book cover I got. This one, however, is a true story. It's based on a true story about
zombies.
Yes, it's a Harvard pharmaceutical researcher. There we go. Who was told, we have a dead person in Haiti we want you to talk to.
How are you going to do that one?
Well, the thing is they told him this man's name is Christoph, and he was made a zombie. They found him clinically dead. He was made clinically dead, but then raised again. I can't remember if it was by that moonlight or it was 3 days later by moonlight, having a whole ceremony and thing. And he worked for several years on there until it was a plantation at a different town nearby. So like his sister and family wouldn't know that he was alive.
Okay.
So
there's some kind of voodoo thing, is it?
It does involve voodoo.
Okay.
At least that's what this Wade Davis, the gentleman who went through this, that's what he's saying. And his stories are actually, as he says himself, more fantastic than they were in the movie, the made-up parts in the movie.
Okay. It makes you wonder why they changed them.
Yeah, but if you want to see, it's really interesting. Just go see how and why Wade Davis went to Haiti and what he accomplished and what he found.
Yeah, real zombies.
Very interesting. Wow. Yeah, okay. Very interesting. And now, do you have something for us?
Oh, yes. A Flash of Beauty with Scott Taylor was something I watched this last week. And he's quite a well-known researcher, apparently, with Bigfoot. And he has some wonderful ideas. I do like the way Flash of Beauty do their interviews as well. It's just the person talking as though there's not an interviewer there. And so it just comes out as delivery from the person being interviewed.
So they don't show the interviewing questioning them.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, no cutting angles.
And trying it that way.
Yeah,
too.
Very interesting. Anyway, one major thing about it was big rocks in forest areas. And if you've got, rocky sort of area anyway, you think nothing of it. The thing is, he thought they might be used to cover the graves of other Bigfoot, such that you never find the bones. You don't normally actually with bear and things.
No.
But his idea was they could pick up this 400-pound boulder or something we couldn't move, and put it on top of the grave, and that would hide it. That was a really good one.
Really explains a lot, because it's all the skeptics are always saying, "Oh, if Bigfoot exists, where are the bones?"
Right.
But other people are bringing up, like you said, the bear bones. One guy brought it up to another hunter and said, "Well, when do you ever see bear bones in the woods?" And the hunter said, "Well, actually, I just saw some last week, but they are very rare, because predators will, of course, take the bodies, spread it apart, and all that
Even
kind of stuff.
Even the marrow and things, can't they? And termites and things."
Yeah.
Another one he was saying was about, you may have heard reports of eye shine, coloured lights in the woods, it seems to be coming from an animal. And you've got your regular things like deers and whatnot, but they say, red or orange eyes can denote a Bigfoot. And he was wondering if it's to do with auras, how they feel their actual eye colour changes. Blue for peaceful, white for just purity, maybe the children. Although he did think the children had got blue eyes.
I was just going to say that. What didn't they say about the blue-eyed children?
Yeah, but if it was angry, maybe it turned to red. Just aura colours. Green, I'm not sure. Envious, maybe. Or something.
Just like, your chakra colours, kind of thing.
Traffic lights, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I thought that was, the whole interview was full of little interesting facts and twists and turns.
They're a good channel, but what a strange name for a channel about Sasquatch.
A Flash of Beauty.
A Flash of Beauty, yeah.
Yeah. He also said, the way that we act similarly, whoever we are, around the world in some ways, the traits. And so will a Bigfoot. So especially in, say, USA, something in Washington State will act similar to one down in Florida or something, because we act in a similar way. And another one was, if they can see infrared. Now, a lot of animals can apparently see infrared, and that's why apparently he thinks you may not get very good amounts of pictures on trail cams.
Yeah, the other night, that raccoon down by the water, I was looking through the infrared binoculars, and he was staring right back at me. He had me.
Yeah, so really be like a bright light. If you've ever seen an infrared camera take a picture of something that's emitting infrared, it's like a flashlight. It's really obvious. And he said, there's your reason, that's why. And also about privacy as well. If you had, if you move into an area with Bigfoot around, then, imagine if that was a person moved in, would you really put a security camera there and be monitoring everything?
Staring right at your neighbor?
Yeah, staring in through the front window, basically, and that's kind of how it may feel to a Bigfoot.
Yeah.
So there were just lots of things within what he was saying that I was just nodding my head and going, do you know what, that's worth sharing.
Cool.
So, that's that one.
Nifty.
I'll pass this to you.
Fort Spooky.
Oh,
now, you've heard me talk about her.
Yeah, great character. She's a little bit similar to Ghost Theory.
Yeah, she was actually, that's how we found her, was that she was recommended by Ghost Theory.
Similar humour.
Yeah, and if you know, Ghost Theory is one of our favorite ones, because of that dry British humour they have, and sometimes not even dry, it's just hilarious.
And they're so pedantic, but they are fun.
But anyway, back to Fort Spooky. Now, she does investigations in the northeastern part of England, I believe, and very often she will have a friend with her. Sometimes her husband comes with her. Sometimes she'll have another investigation team with her. But she is another genuine one. So not always will you see anything happen. Yes. But like any other good ghost hunting channel that's legit, their personality carries it. And she is genuinely looking for answers. And that's another thing that carries it, I think.
It's nothing happens, and it's very important stuff. Amy's Crypt do a similar sort of thing. Ouija Brothers, not the sensational stuff. And Fort Spooky, if you left, you've got half hour episode and nothing happens, nothing happened.
Yeah, and speaking of sensational, I'm sorry, I was watching Selena Spooky Boo and Call Me Chris, they have their podcast called Can't Sleep. And they did a video called This Haunted House Has Horrifying Secrets. And I only got through about a third of it.
Why is that?
Because it's for the kids. And I compare it, it was a Sam and Colby haunting investigation. And I don't mean to rip Sam and Colby all the time, but come on, we're adults, right? You know, and we know that when you have an experience with a haunting, you don't jump and scream.
And was it constant stimulus?
And and you don't look at the camera first thing and then keep looking at the camera going, do you see this? Do you see this? Yeah.
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
As I itch my nose, don't be looking at my nose.
Right.
But anyway.
But
I know what you mean.
That's the kind of investigations when I'm saying Sam and Colby. It's the ones for the kids that are where every knock and bang is something, every tick of the wood, you know.
Yeah.
We sit out on the deck at night and hear our house ticking because it's cooling from the day. You know, there's so many explanations for things that they think is paranormal that, you know.
Now, sure enough,
it's
though,
content.
let me devil's advocate here a little bit and say that they do get out there a heck of a lot, Sam and Colby.
Yeah.
They are going to find certain things. Sometimes you are left perhaps thinking your view would be if something really happened, they wouldn't know what to do.
Yeah. Well,
would they? That's interesting.
Or would we believe them? Is the other thing. If you got somebody screaming and jumping at every little word, sound, everything.
How much of it?
Are you ever going to believe them? Because you know they're going for clicks. You know they're going for medium intelligence kind of thing. You know.
Yeah. Well, entertainment.
Right.
Can you really class it as anything else?
And one thing.
Can you class any channel as more than entertainment?
Well, in fact, we have to class this as entertainment because, but really we're going at it hopefully scientifically. Mark is trying to try out his gadgets, remaking things like a word sense, which is ghost tube kind of thing.
Really following Amy and Jared's way in Amy's Crypt, and the way that they've come up with various different devices is more along the lines, but not using a cell phone in my case, using actual electronics, cheap enough, $10 to make, that kind of thing, but all open source.
Yes, you can.
And that's the important part. You can check through the code, you can have a look at it, it won't be weighted, it won't be throwing out demon every 5 seconds. Unless there's a demon there, and that's the thing to work towards.
Well, and then you look at like the REM pod is just a glorified theremin.
Yeah, I know, right? REM pod circuit is out there too.
I don't know. So we want to try to make it as pure and scientific as possible. So if you're here for jump scares and
but be real. I mean, you're nearly 60. I'm 55.
Hey.
We ain't gonna be jumping much.
I can still jump shout boogie.
Well, you can actually. More than I can.
All right. Well, that's those two. I've got one I would recommend. That's Fort Spooky. One, if it's your taste, please go watch and I won't hate you. But if you like me kind of reviewing channels like this, I'll keep it up for you.
Yeah. Do let us know. Right, next one from me. Ghost Theory had a video.
Speaking of Ghost Theory, our faves.
And it was just a very confusing part to it. Now, they're always entertaining. They're always worth watching. But this thing was about a radio that they captured turning on. And then it actually went through channels. It dialed into something, went back into static. And it seemed to come on its own. And the television did as well.
Yeah.
Now, my immediate thought, and I said to you at the time, was surely it's a remote control.
Somebody's playing with them.
Yeah.
Yep. It was that much that you just think somebody's got to be playing with them.
And then Joe, it's Joe and Elliot, Joe went over to the radio and he took the remote control itself from the right-hand side and said, and didn't make much of it.
The remote was right next to the radio. So.
I really would have thought, he would have thought, heck, has somebody come in, used this, messed around, and run off just to play with us?
They had a master remote.
That's right. Unless, perhaps in the garage or something. Oh, well, maybe.
Anyway, that was
maybe a badger was
our way of debunking
walking across that. Or indeed, like you say, maybe a spare remote.
Yeah.
But we'd have to be for the TV as well.
But you should see it.
Anyway, it's very interesting. And, well worth looking at. But as I say, I immediately went to the remote control, and then Joe showed that it had a remote. Not all radios do.
And it was next to the radio, untouched.
Yeah, very simple little part to it though, but it did confuse me. Anyway, what have you got next?
One thing I thought would be fun to do, and I've kind of been watching short horror movies just for the fun of it, and they're usually about 30-35 minutes long. And this week I watched one called Finley. And it was a cross between, well, it's kind of Chucky Gun Twilight Zone. And when I first started watching, I thought, oh, God, rolled my eyes and stuff. But as I got patient and I sat with it, and it's really good dark humor.
Is it?
I liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll put the name of the gentleman's site up here. I can't recall it right now. But, well, maybe I have it on here. Do I? Oh, bugger, don't. I'm sorry, but I will put that up on the screen here. And go check out his movies. He looks like he's pretty serious about filmmaking. But it was a fun movie. Finley, Finley.
Okay, yeah, very interesting. You should see how much text I've got written on this. I can't read that fast. Right. But yes, Skinwalker Ranch, This Can't Be Real.
I always love Skinwalker
I know, Skinwalker
Ranch.
Again, because it's just for the scientific side, I think,
Yeah.
for myself.
Yeah.
They had it.
It's so mind-blowing.
It is. It really is. They're on about, they're using rockets again. I mean, those guys must have shares in Esther's.
Yeah.
The rocket maker. Right. Yeah, LiDAR. So they got this laser-based array. Somewhat like infrared, it looks like. But when they fired the rocket trail was 10 feet away or something from where it should have fired from. And, you could see the post sticking up, but the fumes of the thing were over here going up. How on earth is that possible? It's using lasers and everything. Why would it be so out? And then I had a little thought. What if the only thing being updated by the system is anything that moves? Nothing else was moving in the scene except the rocket. And it simply drew it in the wrong place? Is that possible? That was just my thought on it, because they didn't come up with that one. Unless, of course, Joe from Ghost Theory got remote control. Well, could the two things be linked? Are they ever in the same place at the same time?
Right. Yeah.
Joe and Elliot and the Skinwalker Ranch team. No, they're not.
Never.
But it was just a little bit of a thing that.
Well, one thing that comes to me is that they always have so much trouble with their GPS when they shoot rockets off, and when they take the helicopter up.
Yeah, they did this time, and they're all skewed about. It went over this way, then up, and they saw, and we saw, they go straight up. They also got a signal back at 1.2 gigahertz, which is kind of within that 1.2 to 1.6 that they tend to get.
1.27 gigawatts. 1.27 gigawatts.
Gigawatts.
Yeah.
Yeah, DeLorean flies past. Why not? Yeah. Loads of other stuff's happened there. God heavens. Anyway, that's the last of mine, and that's my roundup for this week.
Very good. I appreciate it. Thanks for your help.
And thanks for yours.
All right. We'll see you next week.
Thanks for watching.
One before we go. I would like to thank Tracy Eilertson McDowell. I'll get it right. She allowed me to post on her Facebook page Four Corners Metaphysics. And she sells gems and crystals, and she's always going to shows and restocking her inventory. And if you ever want something specific, ask her. She'll look for it for you. I really recommend you go over and check out Four Corners Metaphysics.
All right. Okay. And with that, we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.